Okay, let's just see if it works. Okay, this is basically my life in 2023/2024, which is basically 2 months from here. So I'm and I did a bachelor's, or I'm doing a Bachelor of Earth and Marine Sciences at UWA and a Master's of Oceanography, but I've changed the Master's to Geoscience recently. What I've learnt is that you shouldn't be stressed trying to make the right decision, but you have to try and make the decision right. So why am I saying that? I'm just going to give you a scenario. So think about this. You have the option to choose between a Mars bar or a Cadbury chocolate. Whatever you choose, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter to anyone. And that's the same with choosing a direction. Choosing whether you want to do medicine, like whether you want to do like engineering, whether you want to go to uni at all. Why am I saying that? It's because you only live one life and you don't have those options available to you. You can't live a life where you do engineering, you could do biology, you do TAFE, or you don't be a uni student at all. It's just not within the physical human realm to live through all of these different experiences. So another scenario is if you were choosing between unis. So let's say you were chosen, or you got 2 offers, one from UWA, one from Curtin, and you chose UWA, and your time there is terrible. And you say, oh, I wish I went into Curtin. I wish I chose to go into Curtin instead. But you would have never known whether Curtin was better, worse, or the same. So what I'm saying is that regret is mindless, and that you're always going to think that the decision you didn't choose is the better decision. What I'm saying is that just go with whatever decision you make and make it right. You never make the right decision. There's no such thing as a right decision to make. And basically how that relates to me. I'm 3 years ago, I was in year 11, 2021, and I put my hopes and passion towards going into a pathway into medicine. And that required a lot of energy and academic challenge, basically. So going into medicine was my only plan. I had no backup whatsoever. But I did apply for something. You can't apply for medicine for early office, but you can apply for other subjects or other degrees in uni. So I applied and got into the degree I'm doing now, the Bachelor of Earth and Marine Sciences and Master of Oceanography. So oceanography. So basically everything to do with the ocean. So all the chemical side of the ocean, the biological, the physical. Physical is like waves, biological is like the cells and things inside the ocean, and chemical is chemical. And 2 years ago, I was in 2022, and I got accepted into UWA for a combined Bachelor of Biomedical Science and Doctor of Pediatric Medicine. And I really tossed up the 2 options that I had, because Doctor of Pediatric Medicine is not Doctor of Medicine. It's looking at people's, doing surgery with mostly people's feet and stuff, and I didn't see myself wanting to be stuck between 4 walls for the rest of my life with no real career growth and progression, and just treating sick people. And I really, really do think doctors should be praised for giving so much of their life away, studying and helping others. But for me, that wasn't appealing, and that wasn't the way to go. So I chose something where I thought I could develop myself. I could potentially do something I've never done before, do something interesting. I had no idea what I was going to do, by the way. So I have no friends or family in either the geology space or marine science space, environmental. Basically no science blood in my veins. So I chose this path, and I was really uncertain. I was actually in a condition that I like to call chronic unease. So that is being uncertain, but without being fearful of the uncertainty. So I was in this condition, and I knew that there's no way I could get anywhere if I just focused into uni, right? There's no way I could just continue grinding and studying and somehow, I'll find out what I enjoy, what I'm passionate about. So I set myself a goal last year, and that's to find my purpose. And what really helped me find my purpose was what I value. So what I value is a lot of the environmental science aspects. So and leaving a positive imprint to the community. That's what I really hope to achieve. And that's why I went out, because I really didn't know which avenue to approach. So I went out to a lot of volunteering and a lot of events at UWA hosted by clubs and societies, because UWA as a university doesn't really support you as in professional growth. They don't tell you about all of these opportunities. You have to go and find them yourself. So that is one major challenge that I realized, and luckily I quickly realized that, and I found a solution to that. And finding the solution was getting myself involved in all of these different things. So I was involved in the TEDx UWA club, and I'm sure you guys have seen like TED videos on YouTube or something. So basically I was a speaker resources officer there. I was part of the recruitment process and the curating process. So people would come and I would interview people and see whether they're the right caliber, whether they're the right fit for our theme. And yes.
What's your theme?
It was a mosaic theme. So the theme was called Mosaic, which is basically everything to do with the physiology of life and your experiences. So it was really broad, but we wanted a lot of diversity, and diversity not in terms of just gender and race and stuff, but we wanted diversity in the people who we selected, in their experiences. So we ended up getting a speaker who is the first doctor to ever climb the 7 mountains, including Everest. We got the head of Mindru Foundation in Ocean Conservation. We got a mother. We got a child of someone who lost their parents when they were young and reconnected with them. So it's really broad and different, but these experiences are very unique to that person, and that prospect of being unique is what got them through the interviews to become a speaker, basically. And my role was to train them to become a speaker, to confidently present in front of an audience of over 200. So it was, and these people, a lot of them actually didn't have any experience public speaking. So they didn't know how to articulate properly. They didn't know whether they were gesturing properly, like if they were walking too much on stage. So my role was just to train them, and this was nothing like related to my degree, right? If you think about public speaking, that's like more of communications and more of like business style instead of sciencey style. But just getting involved in those, if you could, I don't know if you can see the link, but just being able to talk to like the Mindru Foundation, like Ocean Conservation, that really helps me in like finding out, maybe I'm interested in like this research in mangroves. There's an opportunity for a placement in this research office. And I kept doing stuff like that throughout the year. I was part of the Woolnorth Society, which is an earth science society, and the AusIMM Club, which is a geology and engineering based club. And through that I went to a lot of industry nights. And so I went to all of these events, and what I found was really important is that networking. That's the most important skill that you need to develop and have to get yourself out there, to talk to different people who has had maybe a life that interests you, or maybe like they're working somewhere and maybe they might have a position available for you. So networking is definitely...
That happened to me.
Yeah.
Networking is so important because I didn't get a job here. I don't know if you guys know, but to be a teacher here is really, really competitive.
Absolutely, yeah.
And is very
so one way to network is through LinkedIn. So LinkedIn is an app where you can see people's profiles, their professional profiles. So it's like a Tinder for professionals. Yeah, you see their life history and you can see what they studied and where they worked, and maybe you can apply it to yourself. You can like ask them questions. Can we go on a coffee? Like, maybe can we have a WebEx chat if you're free? So that's how I got into a lot of the places that I got into, because I talked to a lot of people and I communicated really effectively to those people. And yeah, but back to the why there's turtles here, right? So I did a lot of volunteering with bushland revegetation and coastal protection. So basically, Leighton Beach was actually getting eroded at a very fast rate. I don't know if you know where Leighton Beach is. It's where the Orange Box Cafe is. That doesn't really help, but yeah, does it? Okay. So basically, because there wasn't enough like native plants or plants with roots, like supporting the like soil structure below, all of this sand was just washing off the shore, and sediment, what is it called? Like sediment accumulation wasn't happening at an enough like fast rate to balance out the erosion that was happening. And so we basically went out to plant all of these plants, and I did a lot of identifying different types of weeds, and then educating people about like what you can do, like how you can leave an impact for the community, especially volunteers. They're like pretty senior, so they've got a lot of time on their hands. It's just someone who is there to guide them, who's there to like educate them about what you need to do and how you can do that in the most practical sense as possible. And so doing those roles and just actively like exploring what's out there, I stumbled upon a program called the Flatback Turtle Monitoring Program with Pendoli Environmental, that's an environmental agency, and Chevron, an oil and gas company. And why it exists is because Chevron installed a gas plant on Barrow Island, which is basically a nesting site for turtles, and they've signed a lifetime agreement to keep funding the volunteers to for conservation efforts and to track the population and the health of the turtles and to see whether they're declining or they're stable, basically. And we provide that data as volunteers to them. So I was lucky, yeah.
Are they stable, like the numbers of turtles?
They have been pretty stable, so they haven't been affected. I talked to someone just then in the science office who's said that the freshwater turtles, especially the long-necked, like something red turtle, is critically endangered now because people aren't like putting conservation like funding and efforts into it. Whereas for this one, because Chevron signed this like legislation that they have to like look after all the species of the animals that live on this island and next to it, that the population is still thriving. So, but the statistic is that only one of every 150 turtle hatchlings actually survive to juvenile. So that's like 5 nests. Each turtle only nests like once every year. Back to what I was saying, I found this opportunity and I applied, and luckily I got to be interviewed. So there were 4 interview nights. Each night there were about 50 people. So when I was ushered into the interview, there were like panels like how you're sitting at the moment. There were like rows and rows of chairs and everything. And the person to my left was an experienced zookeeper with 3 years of experience and a degree already. The person to my right was someone who just completed her master's and thesis on the conservation of loggerhead and flatback turtles. So obviously my competition was really, really high, especially because they also took past volunteers as priority over new volunteers. So here I was, newbie, like just finished my semester 1 of uni, didn't really know anything, but what really shone through is that I was able to communicate very effectively and demonstrate that I have the interpersonal skills and that mindset of continuous learning that they were looking for, and that's basically how I landed that role. So in November I was flown. This is all expenses like funded, by the way. So in November I was flown from Perth to Port Hedland. I'm not sure if any of you guys know where Port Hedland is. Yeah. So basically Perth is here. Port Hedland is like the tippy top of WA, like 2-3 hour flight. Yeah, and I went there for 2 weeks in an isolated cattle station, and only through the cattle station can you access that strip of beach that is available. That strip of beach that the flatback turtles have been nesting for like many decades and centuries. So what my job involved as a turtle tagger or volunteer is that number one, we tracked how many turtles we'd missed every day and how many turtles were up on the dunes. And then the turtles will have stages, right? From the shore, they'll progress up the dune and find the area where they want to nest. So some of the turtles are really like troublesome. I say that because it's troublesome for us, the volunteers, because they like climb up this massive dune and to the bottom, and the dunes are really steep, which is hard for us to like go up as well. And so they climb this massive dune, then like find a spot like on this like very far end to the shore, and then lay the eggs there. And then if we stay with this turtle, right, we might miss like 5 other turtles who are coming closer to the shore and nesting. So we have to make critical judgments of which turtle we need to track. We have to keep like a timer on what one turtle is doing. Are they excavating a hole? Are they digging a body pit? Are they laying the eggs? Are they filling the hole? So we have to take that into consideration when walking up and down the stretch of beach. And what we do is that if they didn't have already like pit tags in them, we'd insert a pit tag needle into the like area here. I forgot what it's called, but and then that allows us to track their location, and whether they come back next year, we can just scan it, and if they are, that means they have survived and they are a continuous breeder. And we also flipper tag them. Flipper tag is something you can see, whereas a pit tag is inside the like meat of the like turtle, right? So only if with the right equipment could you scan it. Yeah.
Do you tag the hatchling being involved, or do you tag
We don't. The hatchlings are like this big, right? So like an egg, like so you would like most likely damage like its flipper, or and if you like damage its flipper, it can't survive and swim right in the future. So we only do it when they're mature enough to come lay the eggs and come breed. The breeding process is actually really terrifying for the mother turtles, because the male turtle just like grips onto her like back neck here, like with his really sharp like beak, and normally they bleed a lot, and he like lays on top of her and like sinks her down, and so it's really hard for her to like catch another breath and everything. So like, and they also have to lay the eggs, and they might be attacked by predators and stuff, so they have a really hard life basically. Yeah, so I was able to do that, be in that volunteering position for 2 weeks, and then I flew back to Perth from Port Hedland, and then I got a phone call, and they told me a volunteer had fallen sick. Could you please go to this island to go help out? And so I got another 2 weeks extension. And because I was there for the first bit, I saw all the mother turtles laying their eggs. But for the second bit, all the eggs that they laid, right, were hatching. So that's how I saw the hatchlings. And normally you'd see them at night, which is really difficult to see, but I was really lucky. On my last day on the second trip, I saw them in broad daylight, and they were just poking their heads out in the sand, but they weren't moving, and I literally thought they were dead. I was like, hang on, why are there like these like immobile turtles like lying in the sand here? But it was just because they were just waiting for the right temperature when it was cooler to climb out towards the shore. And after the total volunteering thing, I had applied to like, I think about like 10 different companies for internships, but as you know, as a first year student with no experience, right? I'm sure it makes sense that if you don't have experience, you can't really get into a role that requires experience, right? So luckily there was this thing called a first year resourcing your future internship with BHP, and I applied for it. I didn't think I'd get in because there was over 800 applicants in over 4 states, and only 60 were accepted, 32 were in Perth. So my chances were really low, especially because my ATAR was definitely not as competitive as other people. So the people who I worked with, the ATARs were like 98, 99, so really competitive. But I just thought I'd put myself out there. I'd already done all of this volunteering. I've worked at this job for almost a year, and that demonstrates my ability to stay with the company. I'm a really proactive individual. I love learning and everything, and I'm passionate about self-development. And I think that's what got me through the internship. So as you could see in the corporate life, basically, I could stay in. I basically was in the BHP office for 4 weeks. The internship was 5 weeks, and 1 week was on site to Newman and Port Hedland again, where they did the iron ore. So they extract the iron ore from the ground, refine it. It's a really complicated process, and then they rail it to the port where it's tested for the grades, for what minerals and chemicals are inside the ore body, and then send that information to the customer to check and verify before shipping it onto a huge container boat and then it heading to the consumers. And most of the customers, 75% is based in China, and then 10% in Japan, and the rest around the world. So, and they have really strict regulations of what quality ore they want, because the higher the quality, the more expensive it is, but the easier it is to make steel. And that's something really important to remember. The mining industry might not seem very favorable to a lot of the Generation Z because of all the news that you're listening to, because it's oh, this mining company blew up this area and now it can't be rehabilitated again. One thing you've got to realize is that behind the scenes, from the very first stage, is the planning stage. So they have to think about how they have to close the mine afterwards, and how they have to keep basically restore it back to its natural, back to its original state. And they do actually a lot of efforts in going to do that, and we saw it when we went to site. So after they dig out something and they fill it, and then they plant it with native seeds and everything. So, and they keep the dust pollution down by having a lot of water hoses around everywhere, and that just prevents both safety for workers and damage to the environment. And you have to know that the mining industry is what keeps Australia alive, what keeps the WA economy pumping. Everything you see around you is probably made by steel or a product that originated from iron ore. Something, a quote that I took out is that if you can't grow it, you have to mine it. Yeah, if you think about it, it's sort of true. Yeah, so I was in the office for 4 weeks. I was able to access level 45, which is the highest level in Perth, so I got to see all the nice views, look down at people. And I learned a lot of stuff. I exposed myself to a whole range of different people, so I was still a little bit lost in what direction, what degree I wanted to head into, but I just talked to so many people from aquatic science to environmental science to geologists, geoscientists, hydrologists, engineers. Engineering is a really broad thing, by the way. It's so many different types of engineering you can go into, chemical, electrical, automation, robotics, mining engineering. So there's so many different pathways you can head, and what I'm trying to, the purpose of this is that there's no really one correct right pathway. You have to shape it yourself, and you don't be worried that you're making the wrong decision, because there's no right or wrong decision. You just can't compare it with another option, because you don't have you only have one life. You can't make a clone of yourself and try something new and then make a comparison. So just with what you have, with the resources you have, utilize them as well as possible, and yeah, just believe in yourself, I guess. And I feel like that's the end of my rant. So if you have any questions,
Anyone got any questions?
I'll give you a little.
Turtles or
I can give you
what
a
Matt did it.
So around the eggs change the gender of the turtles.
Does the temperature change? Sorry, could you repeat?
Gender of the turtles.
Really?
The gender of the turtles.
So the type of, like the temperature around the eggs
Yeah.
apparently changes the gender of the turtle.
I'm actually not sure about that. I was just more. Yeah.
So I guess one of the things people are worried about with climate change and temperatures increasing is that it might affect the majority of one sex being born. And so if it's increasing the temperature too much, we might have too little females to then breed as well. But
Also cold is female.
so yeah, colder temperatures favour more females than males. Yeah.
Did you?
Yeah. Were you involved in any of like the scientific, like sort of stuff, like analyzing different things?
In the turtle thing?
Yeah.
I was just more involved in actually doing the physical work, but at the end of the day, you have. So basically, at night, you go to the beach and then you complete this form and you note down. This turtle will have a flipper tag scar, or do their pit tags, and you write down the code of the pit tag, and that's how you can recognize the that's how you can track them basically and see whether they're still alive. And after, like in the morning, because we do night shifts when the turtles come out, so we don't scare them. In the morning or afternoon, we then enter the data into the databases, and that gives us a lot of information, like when did the turtle first appear on the beach? Have they been consistently going to the same breeding like section of the beach every year? Yeah, basically a lot of things, and there are certain people who are tasked with nest marking, so they count how many eggs the turtles lay in one batch. Yeah.
How do you know you don't step on a baby turtle or a nest?
It's actually really difficult because we were given like really crappy light. So like we were only allowed to use red infrared light, so that because white light would blind them and affect. Because if the baby turtle sees the white light, they're gonna think you're the moon, right? And so they're gonna follow you instead of like going towards the shore where the moon is. So yeah, it was just we had to keep an eye on it, but most of the times we'd be more likely stepping on like a hermit crab than like a turtle. And like there was why I say the turtle survival rate is so low is because there's so many predators. So there's parentes, which are like large iguanas, like this big, and I accidentally almost stumbled into one because I wasn't looking one day, like, and my friend was like, "Oh my god, Matthew, like there's a huge iguana in front of you." I'm like, "Where?" And yeah, this huge iguana was in front of me, like, and I was just like shocked by how they were just like moving really like in a sinister way.
They eat the eggs,
sorts.
right?
They eat
just like swallow the eggs whole?
They dig out the
Yeah.
eggs and then eat the eggs. That's one predator. Another predator is the introduced foxes. But the most prominent predator that you might not realize, and you might have a pet as well, are the hermit crabs. So as the baby turtle hatchlings go towards the shore, you can just imagine like a line of hermit crabs like here, just waiting for them to come, and then they like rip them apart, which is like really horrible, and just eat them. And then they leave the shells behind for us to see their corpses, which was really... So the first baby turtle I saw was actually dead. And yeah, it took like quite a while until I saw my first like alive baby turtle. And then as soon as they get into the water, right? As soon as they get into the water, they're like eaten by fish and sharks and everything. And sometimes they're like swept up back in the sand and they don't have enough energy for them to keep like going. So yeah, it's hard being a turtle. Do you have a question, sir?
What courses or what courses did you take?
Yeah, I took specialist methods, physics, chemistry, and English, and politics and law in year 11. I'll talk a little bit about my experience I'll talk science because I'm in a science classroom.
No, you can talk anything, it's fine.
Science, chemistry and physics was helpful in my course because with geology there's a lot of things to do with axial planes and like 3D modeling, and I feel like a lot of the knowledge I learned in physics sort of applied. It didn't apply directly, but I was like, oh, force, yes, I can apply this here. Chemistry sort of helped as well because I'm doing oceanography, which is everything to do with the ocean, right? So that's an important component. But one subject I would stress that you should put significance on is English. And why I say that is because I am everyone's English nerd. And English actually, if you put the effort in, it scales really well. And basically, what am I trying to say? The year 11 content and year 12 content is the exact same in English, whereas in chemistry, physics, maths, you have different topics. In English, you have comprehending, composing, responding, and then you can choose the same text you used last year, and then just apply your knowledge from last year. So the key takeaway is get a lot of feedback from your teachers. They're always there to support you. So I would be the annoying person who would send my English teacher like a draft, or like even if it's just the introduction, just to see like what comments they have, what suggestions they have, and then apply it to my studies. And that's how I did really well in English. And I think a lot of people just throw away English as like something you just need to pass in, but it's something that will carry you through if you put effort in. Sorry, just one more question.
Were you able to take those into the water?
Yes, I was gonna ask. That's by the strength, isn't it? They have to get the strength.
Well, we have to let nature take its course, right? So we can't. If there are like seagulls, we can shoo them away. But if there are eagles, we have to let them eat the baby turtles, like even if it's right in front of us, because it's the natural diet. So we can't change, like what happens naturally. But if we see a baby turtle that's still alive and like flipped on its back and still moving and everything, we will relocate it closer to shore where they can then easily go into the ocean. But if they're flipped onto the back and they can't like flip themselves back, that probably means they won't survive because they don't have like the health and like stamina to keep surviving, I guess. So
basically, you leave the unhealthy ones to the whatever the hell wants to eat it.
yeah, but we try our best, because like it's really terrible just to like leave like something that still has a chance of surviving, like just on the like really dry sand to die, right? So we lead it towards the shore. Sometimes we throw them in, which is yeah, but that's just ultimately our aim is just to monitor the turtles, not really affect how they naturally survive.
What age did you do it?
I'll tell you my marks and you can guess. How are you gonna count? You can't calculate it. What are you talking about? You can try.
It was probably something like 70.
What program were you in?
Do you want to guess what program I'm in?